The deer of Twin Eagle Ranch have brought a lot of joy to me and brought a lot of joy to Chris and all the family, and actually have brought joy and solitude and peace and a lot of other things to literally thousands and thousands of people through social media, through our YouTube channel, which now we've changed the name from Jimmy Houston Outdoors to Jimmy and Chris Houston's Twin Eagle Ranch, and we spun all of our fishing over into a separate channel about a month ago. It's about 5,000 people have gone over there and subscribed to that channel, and I'm sure we'll get that channel up to 100,000 probably in not too distant future. But that's where we have the fishing, is over on Jimmy Houston Outdoors Fishing. But the deer seem to be what people love so much. They love the deer, and I love the deer. I love the deer a lot. And a lot of you have been here since day one, but we started this YouTube channel back in February, I think, of 2019 is when we actually got going on it. And we had an old YouTube channel, which somebody had started years ago. I guess we did. I didn't know anything about it. We had less than 2,000 people on it, and we'd posted like 2 videos ever. And my buddy Roland Martin, I was down in Florida fishing with him, and he suggested that we start a YouTube channel. And so I told Pat, let's do that. And he said, well, you already have. And I was shocked to find only 2,000 people. But I said, well, how come we only have 2,000? He said, well, you haven't posted but a video or two, and you did that 5 years ago or something. So February 2019, we kicked this dude off. So now we've been, I guess, about 4 years with it, and just have had a lot of fun. And it was just simply going to be a fishing channel. That's what we do, is fish, and fish national tournaments for 54 years. This is the 46th year of Jimmy Houston Outdoors on national television. 21 of those years was on ESPN, and now we were back on ESPN last year and back on ESPN this year. ESPN2 every Saturday morning at 7:30 for the first 26 weeks of the year. And we're still filming 26 television shows, one of the few outdoor programs that does 26 shows and not 13. And we've been doing that for a lot of years. 46 years we've been doing Jimmy Houston Outdoors. But what really changed everything we were doing was a little baby deer that named Lucy. And Lucy became America's deer. And I know there's several other deer probably can claim it as America's deer, and you can only be America's deer probably while you're alive, but Lucy's legacy seems to live on. And Lucy was an abandoned fawn, and we have rescued in our lifetime a couple, 2 or 3 deer, but really not many. We're not really into that at all. We're so busy, and really don't have time to fool with deer, and don't have time to fool with deer now, but we still do anyway. But I was actually doing a charity tournament that we do with a couple buddies of mine, Bill Dance and Roland Martin. And we do that tournament in Nashville, and the pandemic wiped that tournament out. We haven't done it since the pandemic. We've done it 3 or 4 years in a row before that, and would continue to do it had the pandemic not happened. But it was a tournament where we raised a lot of money for cancer in Nashville. And we fished Old Hickory Lake, which is north of Nashville. And people could actually buy a chance, or buy a fishing trip, not just buy a chance, buy a fishing trip with Roland Martin and Bill Dance and myself. And we actually fished the tournament with the other guys and girls, and it was just a lot of fun. A lot of the country music stars got involved in it. We fished with some of the country music stars, and they do so much for anything that goes on to help people around Nashville. They really do, and they're just tremendous guys and girls, most of them. And so I was over there fishing that tournament, and I left the tournament that afternoon about 2 or 3 o'clock, where the weigh-in was over and everything, and we'd eaten and given away all the trophies and prizes and money, and I decided to head on back. And Chris said, don't you dare drive all the way back home. And I said, oh, I won't, baby, don't worry about it. And so she was taking the grandkids. She'd had the grandkids over here for 3 or 4 days. She was taking them back. This was in June, and I think maybe the first Saturday in June, and she was taking them back to meet their mom and dad, and halfway. We live 200 miles from the kids, and so a lot of times we meet halfway, 100 miles, basically halfway, roughly. And she was taking them back, and I was driving back from Nashville, pulling my boat, and she called me about 10 or 10:30, and she said, Jimmy, I got a problem. And I knew she was taking the kids back because I'd been talking to her. And I said, what's the problem, babe? And I said, you didn't have a wreck, did you? And she said, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm at home. And I said, well, what happened? The house not burned down or anything? She said, no. She said, I've got a baby deer here in the front yard. And I said, well, we have deer in the yard a lot. That's not a big deal. She said, no, this is a little bitty baby, just barely, probably been born today or yesterday. And he's following the dogs around, following Beamer and Daisy around. She thinks that Beamer or Daisy is his mother. And I said, well, just leave it alone. Don't touch it. It'll be all right. And so as I talked to her, she was walking around out in the front yard. It's June. It's nice. And she said, well, now the deer's following me. And I said, well, I guess you're the deer's mama now. And she said, well, I don't want to be a deer's mama. And I said, well, I don't know. And I said, have you picked it up and handled it any? And she said, no, I haven't. I said, if you just leave it alone, its mama will probably come back and get it. Maybe when you drove up there, maybe the dogs were probably in the house and the deer was out in the yard, and maybe it was just born there in the yard, and his mama will come back and get it probably. And she said, okay. So she left it in the yard, and I got home. I drove all the way home, got home about 5 o'clock in the morning, I guess it was, and I woke up I went straight to bed and woke up about 8 or 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and Chris, I got up, Chris was gone, and she had left me a note saying that she had gone to town to buy some groceries and stuff and would be back shortly. And so I thought about that deer, and I thought, well, I'll go out and look and see if that baby deer is outside anywhere. And I don't know if I called and asked Chris if she had seen the baby deer or not, but anyway, I went out and walked around a little bit. I just love to walk around this lake and the woods and everything, and so I got out and walked around a little bit, and looked into all the shrubs. Chris told me that the deer had laid down around the shrubs in the front of the house, on the other side of the house. And so I looked in through all those shrubs, and there was no deer there. And so I thought, well, I guess the mama come back and got that baby deer. So that's good. I didn't really think much about it. Walked around, was walking around down on the bank of the lake, and I looked up by this old dead tree that's right here. Old dead tree that gotta fall sometimes. He's been dead for years. And I get up there, and I look, and right there, laying in the sunlight, is quit. Benelli's tried to chew on my tennis shoes, and don't let her do that. But there was that baby deer curled up by that tree, and the sun shining down on it, and she just looked up at me and never moved. And I thought, oh my gosh, if you've been here since yesterday and you hadn't had anything to eat. And so I called Chris and told her to get some formula. They make a formula that's for goats and baby deer and baby elk and stuff, that's got all the right kind of stuff in it, and they can get by fine on it. And so I told her, Chris, I said, well, your baby deer's still here. So I got it, and I put Lucy in a box, and I named her Lucky Lucy, because she's so lucky that to still be alive, really. And it was the next day. She hadn't had anything to eat since the day before. It was about noon by the time Chris got home from town with that, and we fed her and started keeping her. And that was the start of what has turned in the Twin Eagle herd, or Lucy's herd, we call it. And we took care of Lucy. Lucy became like we call her a Labrador. A Labrador is what we called her, because she followed me around like a dog. She went in the boat with me. She would, if I was out there fishing and she was up here on the bank, she'd swim out to me in the boat. She just became a pet, and in the process, she became America's pet. And she had a tough time. I mean, she had a lot of things go really, really bad. And when I was down in Guatemala sail fishing, doing some sail fishing shows down there, Lucy disappeared and was gone. And I kept asking Chris when I called her at night, how's my deer? And she changed the subject and wouldn't ever answer me. And about the second or third night, I said, how's my deer? And she said, Lucy left. She ran away. And I said, Lucy didn't run away. My deer would not run away. Something's happened to Lucy. And she said, well, I haven't seen her in 2 days. And so I was just heartbroken. I just knew that a coyote or a bobcat had caught Lucy. She's just a baby. And she was, 3 or 4 months old by then. So I was just heartbroken. And about an hour and a half later, Chris called me and she said, guess what? Lucy came in the house. I said, are you serious? She said, yeah, she's all cut up and scratched up. Her nose is broken. And I said, well, something's got a hold of her. And she sent me a picture of her, and it looked like probably a bobcat had grabbed a hold of her head, which is what they do. And then the deer spin around. trying to get rid of that bobcat hanging on it, and the bobcat just hangs on, and it makes them dizzy, and they fall down. When they fall down, then he grabs them by the throat and kills them. And bobcats are lethal killers of deer. They're pretty good sized animals. They're not really a little, you think of a house cat size, they're not. They're really big animals, and they can take down a full-grown deer, and fawns do not have a chance against them. Just do not have a chance. If they catch them, they kill them basically almost 100% of the time. And Lucy had a broken nose, and because of that, she couldn't keep her tongue in. Her tongue hung out all the time, so that was kind of a characteristic that I fell in love with, everybody else fell in love with. Lucy had never stayed in the house, but she'd been in the house a lot, but we never ever let her sleep in there. Hard to housebreak a deer. But Chris said that Lucy went in and laid down by her bed and mine, and laid down on my side and went to sleep. And Chris said I just had a heart to put her outside, so she kept her inside that night. Lucy made it through that. She had that broken nose, had a little crooked nose all her life, let that tongue hung out, and just cute as a bug. And she just was great. We just babied her and took care of her, and just like the world would end if we lost that little deer.